It is my great pleasure to welcome you to the world of learning new concepts and current trends, so let's start. Have you ever sat down with a client, asked them what they actually want their new system to do, and just received this completely chaotic, unstructured wall of words? Yeah, it happens literally almost every time. So today, we're going to explore a really fascinating challenge. How exactly do we bridge that massive gap between messy human conversations and the strict mathematical reality of a working database? I'm super excited to dive into this week's material with you because, well, we're officially stepping away from all that foundational theory and jumping straight into the actual design phase. We're going to unpack exactly how to capture those tricky requirements and really master ER modeling. Okay, so here's our roadmap for the week. We'll be looking at moving from words to diagrams, capturing those messy requirements, writing atomic business rules, going over ER modeling fundamentals, checking out cardinality and optionality constraints, and finally, we'll wrap up with your specific Week 2 deliverables. All right, let's jump right into Section 1, From Words to Diagrams. The absolute crucial mantra from your material this week is this idea of acting as a translator. That's your entire objective here. It's all about taking the messy, complex reality of a real-world business and turning it into a highly structured, totally ambiguous diagram. If you can keep this translation mindset front and center, I promise all the technical steps are going to click right into place for you. And that builds a really clear three-step translation pipeline for us. First up, we take that unstructured, messy text right from our clients. Next, we refine it down into plain English constraints, which we call business rules. And then finally, those rules are translated into a strict visual model, the entity relationship diagram. Now remember, you absolutely cannot just skip straight to step 3. It's a process. Moving right along to Section 2, Capturing Messy Requirements. So, how do we actually gather all that raw, unstructured info in the first place? Well, the source material highlights 3 foundational fact-finding techniques you'll be using. By conducting client interviews, analyzing their existing documents, and directly observing how the business operates on a day-to-day basis, we get the real-world scenario text that we actually need to kick off our design. But here's the catch. Raw text is a total minefield of misunderstandings. To get it organized, your very first step is building a domain glossary. By defining 5 to 10 key terms, we completely remove ambiguity before any modeling even starts. Just think about it. If the client keeps saying customer and you go and build a database table for user, well, your database is fundamentally flawed from day one. So, the glossary locks down a shared vocabulary for everyone. Which brings us to Section 3, Writing Atomic Business Rules. Now, what's really fascinating here is that these rules actually act as the strict pseudocode for your entire database. An atomic business rule translates a messy human need into an undeniable constraint. By forcing ourselves to use strict words like must or may, we basically strip away all that vague fluff, leaving only the cold, hard structural reality of the data. Just listen to the stark contrast between these two. Customers buy stuff from us whenever. That is way too vague, right? I mean, what even is stuff? What does whenever actually mean to a database? Alternatively, look at this. A customer may place one-to-many orders. That uses atomic may language to explicitly define the relationship. Now that is a concrete rule we can actually build a system around. Okay, let's head into Section 4, ER Modeling Fundamentals. When you finally move into MySQL Workbench, those atomic rules translate directly into 3 visual building blocks. The nouns in your rules, those become your entities. The little details become your attributes. And the verbs connecting everything together, those become your relationships. For your version 0.1 diagram, just mapping out 4 to 6 core entities and relationships is literally the perfect starting point. Of course, sometimes relationships get pretty complicated, like when many things relate to many other things. You simply cannot leave a many-to-many line sitting in a relational database. It just doesn't work. So, the solution? We resolve it by creating a brand new associative entity, sometimes called the junction table, right smack in the middle. This cleanly breaks it apart into 2 manageable one-to-many relationships. Problem solved. Next up, Section 5, Cardinality and Optionality Constraints. So let's break these terms down. Cardinality tells us the numerical rules. Is it a one-to-one, one-to-many, or many-to-many relationship? Optionality, on the other hand, tells us if participation is mandatory or optional. Do you remember those must and may words we used back in the atomic business rules? Well, these constraints are the direct visual translation of those exact words. It all connects. And to perfectly visualize a one-to-many relationship, we use this distinct crow's foot symbol. You can see how that three-pronged shape literally looks like a bird's foot. It's brilliant because it instantly communicates to any database engineer looking at it that multiple records can exist on that side of the relationship. It's just a really elegant universal visual language. Finally, let's wrap things up with Section 6, your Week 2 deliverables. All right, it is time to build some concrete evidence of your design progress. Because let's be real, this isn't just about practicing theory anymore. Every single piece of documentation you create right now serves as a direct structural building block for your final Assessment 1 design report. So by the end of your peer review session, you absolutely need these 4 specific artifacts. First, a domain glossary with 5 to 10 unambiguous terms. Second, 8 to 12 atomic business rules, heavily using that must or may language. Third, an ERD version 0.1, built right there in MySQL Workbench. And finally, an assumptions and questions log. Having these ready in your folder is totally non-negotiable for moving forward. So I want you to keep this ultimate question in mind as you finalize your designs this week. Is your logic truly airtight? Because next week, we are turning these conceptual visual blueprints into actual functional relational tables. If there's any vagueness left in your design right now, I guarantee it will cause your database to break later. So, is your ERD strict enough to survive? Put your logic to the test, stay strict, stay atomic, and I'll see you next time to start building.